All right, let's talk about something serious. So 2.5 years ago, I was doxxed on this app. And because I was doxxed by the followers of a certain creator who does not look like me, pretty much everybody on the left got on that bandwagon. And and 10 days after I was doxxed, I was fired from my job. And that was a traumatic experience, legitimately. I mean, for months, I was getting death threats consistently. Strangers who I had never interacted with on this app were messaging me my home address. People made dozens and dozens and dozens of videos showing my face and my real name and the front of the building of the law firm that I worked at the time, and disclosed the address and the email address and the phone number for the law firm that I worked at. And it was one of the most horrific and traumatic things that I had ever been through, and dozens of people that I thought were my friends took the other side. People who I had been mutuals with for a very long time took the other side and were messaging me and telling me what I was obligated to do. And I had stood up for a friend of mine who was a woman who was being attacked on this app. And it was the first time in my life that I had ever been through anything like that. I didn't leave my apartment for weeks and weeks because I was afraid. I was afraid of the death threats that I'd been getting. I'd never experienced anything like that. I was absolutely fucking terrified that strangers were messaging me my home address and saying that they were going to be looking for me. But I got through that. And so that was in the end of June, the beginning of July of 2023. So fast forward to a year ago, December of 2024. A year ago, a couple of weeks from now, because a year ago in December, I did what I always do. I booked a little Airbnb in the mountains for 10 days over Christmas and New Year's. And I came up here by myself with my dogs. And, you know, it's become kind of a ritual that we used to do. And, you know, there was this little place that I booked every year that had a huge outdoor fire pit. And I would have a big campfire every afternoon. And then I would take a nap for a couple hours. And then I would go get some dinner. And then I would come back. And then I would have a campfire every evening. And but last year it rained quite a bit, and so I didn't get to have most of my campfires. And so I think it was, I don't know what day it was. It was 2 or 3 days before Christmas, and I was scrolling through TikTok and I saw some friends of mine on a live. Another friend of mine was hosting the live, and so I joined that live. And and then the person who was primarily responsible for me getting fired from my job showed up in the comments of that live. And it was a person who made dozens of videos showing my face, my real name, the name, address, telephone number, email address, photos of the building that I worked in for my employer at the time. And that person popped into the comments. And I don't remember what that person said. To this day, I don't understand why that person hates me as much as they do, but they still do. I think it's because of a height differential. I'm not entirely sure. But throughout that process, you know, seeing people who I thought were my friends, and people who knew my real name, and people who had my cell phone number, and people who I had spoken with on the phone, and people who I was in text threads with, start making videos about what a horrible piece of shit I am as a person, was unenjoyable. We'll put it that way. It was unenjoyable. But a year ago, I was up here about 10, 15 miles away from where I am right now. And I was on a live with some friends on TikTok. I was having a great time. And one of those people popped into the comments, and that was that. That was that. I had a PTSD flashback. I blacked out. I went dark, but I was still conscious and talking and participating in this live. And I have no memory of that to this day. And all I remember is that person popping into the comments, and then I woke up the next morning. I lost all of that time in between because I had blacked out. Apparently, I made TikTok videos during that period of time. I participated in that live for a period of time. And then after I got off that live, I made several TikTok videos. And I have no memory of doing that. And I woke up the next morning to dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of text messages from people who were concerned about me. And that had happened to me probably 6 or 7 times since the day that I got doxed until a year and a half later when I blacked out live on TikTok last Christmas. And so by that point I was like, okay, this is a real thing that needs to be addressed, and it needs to be addressed now, and it needs to be addressed effectively. And it's something that I need to commit to resolving. And so I did. I spent the rest of my time up here in the mountains and had a great Christmas with Tanner and Lola. And so when I got back to San Francisco, a day or two after New Year's, I found an amazing trauma specialist therapist. And for the first nine and a half months of this year, I found through my brother Falcon, I found a pretty intense men's group that met twice a month. And, with my schedule up here at the cabin, I'm not able to participate in that anymore, but I'm still going to therapy. And, so it's just like the last few days that I've been up here, I've just been thinking about that last year and like where I was a year ago compared to where I am now. And also, thinking about what what the cost of all of that has been, like what the price of the last 2.5 years has been, and learning so much about TikTok friendships, and learning so much about, I can't think of the word, but it's that whole, online social media interaction relationship thing, where it's like you think you know somebody, and you discover that you don't. And often you discover that you don't under the absolute worst of circumstances, when those people decide to go another route, and having been through that, it's crazy to think back on it. It's like, to this day, it's like, I don't know why I stuck with it. I don't think I can give a clear, actual answer of why I kept making TikTok videos, other than the fact that I was just like, fuck you. I like doing this, and you're not going to take this away from me. Fuck off. And, you're not going to make me quit. And I quit things all the time. The only time that I don't is when somebody's like, you have to quit this. And then I'm like, fuck you, I'm not quitting this. And that's an ADHD thing, I think, maybe PTSD thing. But I was just like, you people are not going to take this away from me. This is something that I enjoy doing. And so I stuck with it. And also a year ago, at the beginning of this year, not quite a year ago, I decided that I didn't want to be an attorney anymore, and I wanted to leave my job. But I wanted to do that in the right way, and then I wanted to start doing this full time, kind of in my retirement years, I guess. And I gave myself a timeline of 18 months, and I left my job in 11 months. And so I beat that deadline by 7 months. And then I've the same week that I quit my job, I bought this house up in the mountains, which is where I've wanted to live. I mean, this house is exactly the house that I've always wanted. And it's exactly where I've always wanted to live for the last 20 years. And I don't know if it's entirely a function of stubbornness, because there are plenty of things in my life that I know that if I dedicated more time to, I would get better at, like, playing guitar or playing drums. But I don't do that. I don't dedicate that time to those things. But as soon as somebody tells me that I'm not allowed to do something, or that I'm not welcome on this app anymore, or that I owe somebody something, or I have to do X, Y, and Z, that part of my brain just kicks into fuck you gear. And which I'm not sure is entirely healthy. That's something else that I want to kind of unpack in therapy this year. Because I'm not entirely sure that I stuck with it because it was something that was good for me, or something that I enjoyed, or that I stuck with it because all of these insufferable fucking assholes, all of whom were on the left, told me that I wasn't allowed to do this anymore. And it wasn't the first time that these insufferable assholes on the left told me that I was not allowed to do this anymore, nor was it the last time that these insufferable assholes on the left told me that I'm not allowed to do this anymore. It's happened a couple of more times since then, in the last 2.5 years. You know, but I did stick with it, and I wanted to achieve those goals, and I did achieve those goals. And so it's that time of year, you know? I mean, it's a couple weeks away, but it's that time of year, and I'm just thinking a lot about the last 2.5 years. I'm thinking a lot about the last year. I'm thinking a lot about last Christmas, and just the terror that I felt when I woke up that next morning and realized that I had blacked out for several hours, but was still conscious and functioning, but I was not there for that. I was not there for that. And that is an incredibly frightening and scary thing to have experienced. And to still know that there are very large numbers of people out there who still just absolutely fucking hate me and want me to experience that kind of stuff again. And a few dozen of those people are people who I thought had been my friends. But parasocial, that's the word that I was looking for earlier. Parasocial relationships. These insufferable cunts on the left who, you know, who I trusted and who I'd been friends with and who I'd spoken with on the phone and messaged with and DM'd and all of these things. And, you know, but the second that they thought that they could score points with whatever marginalized community on this app that they wanted to score points with to show that they were one of the good ones, you know, that was out the fucking window, man. That was out the fucking window. And, you know, so I mean, I've worked incredibly hard in therapy this year, and I worked really, really hard in the men's group stuff when I was doing that. And all of that stuff has been incredibly beneficial, and I'm continuing on with therapy. But, you know, it's like at the same time, you just can't deny certain lessons to learn from an experience like that, you know? You can't deny the lessons that really matter of, you know, be careful who you trust, and be careful of who you grow close with and who you disclose things to. And you know, because there is a cohort of people, especially on social media, that will fucking throw your ass under the bus in a heartbeat and disclose those things publicly if they see some benefit in that for them in scoring points with other groups of people. It's a tricky thing, you know? I mean, in some ways, like the work that I've done over the last year has really opened my heart to the world and increased my empathy for others in just dramatic ways, but has simultaneously, you know, these lessons have simultaneously hardened me in a way where I don't trust the way that I used to. I just don't. I don't trust the way that I used to. I'm very, very wary of strangers. I'm very, very wary of people professing their friendship and professing their connection to me and professing things that under normal circumstances people would think are amazing. And I'm still trying to find the balance between those two things. I'm still very much kind of struggling with the balance between those two things. And, you know, but I'm here right now. I am here a year later. I'm continuing with therapy. I busted my ass in therapy this year and in men's group. I'm retired from my job. I'm sitting in the loft of my dream home for the last 20 years. And, you know, when you go through these kinds of things and you get into this kind of therapy and you start doing this kind of work and you start really on a deep level healing, it changes so much of who and what you are and how you navigate the world and how you navigate friendships and relationships and every interaction that you have. I mean, it changes everything. It changes everything. And it doesn't turn you into an asshole, but you evolve into a person who's just like, there are some things that I will tolerate and there will some things that I won't. And I am now perfectly and completely fine with setting healthy, protective boundaries for myself. And I don't have any problem doing that anymore. I do it in a conscientious manner, but some people will stick around for that evolved version of you, and some people won't, because it's too disruptive. You know, that new version of you, I mean, it's cliche to say it, but that new and improved, healthier, healing version of you that is willing to firmly and clearly set certain boundaries, that's way too disruptive for a lot of people, because you're shifting those dynamics. You know, you're shifting those dynamics in such fundamental, impactful ways. That some people are just going to fucking dip, man. They're just going to fucking dip. And so it's like, you know, part of the healing process and all of the arduous and grueling work that goes into that, you know, it weirdly brings about grief and grieving for the people that, you know, just don't have the wheels to stick around for it, you know. And it can bring about a lot of loss. It can bring about a lot of loss. And it, you know, it's like I was talking to my therapist last Friday, and I was talking about a lot of this kind of stuff. And, you know, it was within the context of leaving my job and getting this house and doing all of the things that I have to do or need to do or want to do to make this house my forever home. And I was talking about grief and grieving and loss. And I was just like, you know, for the last week, it's just like, I just did things. You know, there were so many things for me to do, things that I wanted to do, things that I needed to do, things that I had to do. So I just kept moving. I just kept moving because I just wanted to take a week and push those other things aside a little bit. And so I just went and went and went and went and went and went and did this and did that and did this and did that and took care of this and took care of that and got this arranged and got that arranged and got my propane tank filled and spent a week trying to track down firewood and all of these other things. You know, because it's like that's kind of how I take a break from that kind of stuff. It's just like I just go. I go and go and go and go and go and go. What's the next thing? I do the next thing. What's the next thing? I do the next thing. And that's what last week was. Because I just needed a fucking break, man. You know, this year's been a lot. I mean, it's been a lot. And last year was a lot. I mean, the last 2.5 years has been a lot. You know, 6 months after that whole doxing thing, I mean, like, and I've talked about this a little bit before. I mean, you know, I've been a trial attorney for 27 years. So it's like, if there's one thing that I know how to do, it's collect evidence. And so every single video that I saw that people made about me, I downloaded them, I saved them. And 6 months after that happened, you know, my head had cleared enough that I was like, you know, I'd like to do something about this. This was wrong. What these people did was wrong. And what these people did to me was wrong. And I think I had somewhere around, I don't know, 15 or 1600 videos that people made about me, but there were really 5 main offenders. 3 of whom I had been mutuals with. And so I took all of their videos for those 5 people, organized them, sorted them by date. I wrote up a 25-page, single-spaced narrative for the FBI, and I filed a report with the FBI, and I took those 16 or 1700 videos and I narrowed it down to 400 videos from these 5 people, 3 of whom I'd been mutuals with, and I had 400 videos from these 5 people. And I filed a report with the FBI, and they assigned me to an FBI agent up in Albany, New York, and an assistant U.S. attorney. And those 2 guys worked with me for 6 months, and they were just like, they watched every video that I sent them, they read every word that I sent them, and they were like, there's no federal law that can apply. If you want to pursue something, criminal charges or state charges, you're going to have to do that at the state level. And all 5 of these people lived in 5 different states, and I was just like, I'm not fucking doing that. But all 5 of those people now have been identified by the FBI, and they all now have permanent FBI files. So I take some comfort in that. But, you know, this year has been a ride, man. It has been a ride. It's had ups and downs, peaks and valleys. But I'm here now. I am here now. I accomplished all the goals that I set out to accomplish this year, except for a couple. And the couple that I haven't accomplished yet is simply because I don't know jack shit about computers. But, you know, I can YouTube it. I'm feeling an overwhelming sense of gratitude, accomplishment, pride, because I didn't quit. You know, I didn't fucking quit. I didn't quit. And I'm here now. That's all that matters. You know, I'm also incredibly grateful for every single person who follows me on any platform. You know, I see your guys' comments. I see your guys' feedback. I try to take that stuff in. It's challenging at times. It's tricky at times. I try to take it in. I'm not good at accepting compliments. I'm not good at accepting praise. I'm not good at accepting acknowledgement. But I'm going to work on that next year too. So I appreciate all of you guys, everybody who follows me. And I hope every single one of you guys has an absolutely amazing Christmas. And a happy new year. Thanks, everybody.